Welcome back. We are talking about personal branding, which is one of my favorite topics because as a personal branding consultant and marketing strategist, I do it every single day. In fact, I have spent the last 5 years teaching entrepreneurs how to personally brand themselves online so that they can build scalable businesses. And the information that I'm sharing with you today isn't just based on my experience, it's based on my clients. Hundreds and hundreds of clients have gone through my program, You Branded, which teaches entrepreneurs how to brand themselves online, and it is backed by data. So let's get into the 6 ways to improve your personal brand online. Let's kick it off talking about what personal branding actually is. So for this video specifically, I am talking about personal branding as it applies to business owners. So you are looking to receive money and funds for your products or your services online. And how does personal branding ultimately fit in? Well, personal branding is based on the experience that you are creating for your ideal customer, with you being the person behind the brand. So whether you sell a product or a service, personal branding can actually help you create more connection with your audience. We've also found that personal branding helps with client retention. When we share connection with a brand, when we share shared values, when we are on board with their mission, when we feel taken care of, when we are connected to their story, we know that client retention improves. So this is why personal branding is so important no matter what you sell online. And ultimately, at the end of the day, if you're not leading the charge with your personal brand, if you aren't kind of choosing what messages are being shared and what is being said, other people will create the narrative for you. And we don't really want that, right? So it is important that as a business owner, you are focused on the person or the people, if there's more than one, behind the brand and being able to share that through the art of personal branding. So when we watch videos on personal branding, everybody's talking about social media. All right, that's fine. Social media, I want you to think of that as an avenue for sharing your personal brand. But you can also share your personal brand through video, through blogging, through email marketing. There are a lot of different ways to showcase your personal brand. But what I want to talk about is, what the heck is your personal brand? How do you actually figure out what your personal brand is so then you can use those marketing avenues to attract your ideal customers, to promote your products and services, and to build a deeper connection. So in order to figure out what our personal brand is, we've got to start at the very, very first step, which is understanding who you are. When it comes to figuring out who you are, the person behind the brand, it's important to start thinking about your story. Now, story work is something that I specialize in over here at Brandmerry. No matter if you work with me on branding or marketing, we're always focused on the art of storytelling. I talked about storytelling in this video right here. If you want to check that out, that is going to be really helpful for you in understanding why story is so important. But some of the things that you want to identify in the beginning is, well, who the heck are you? What has ultimately led you to creating this product or this service and solving a problem? We know that in order to be successful as a business owner, we need to solve a problem. If there's no problem, people won't pay for a resolve, right? They won't pay for a solution. And so why did you choose to do that? What has ultimately led you here? One of the things that I teach inside of my program, You Branded, is focusing on the 3 transitions. What are 3 pivotal moments in your life that have led you to this moment today? This is also incredibly helpful in writing your brand story, which is often one of the things that we do when we are first launching our business out into the world. Also at this phase, you want to pay attention to identifying your brand values and your brand mission. Now, I have a podcast episode over on the Brandmerry podcast where I talk about both of these pieces. So you can dive into the logistics on each of those over on the Brandmerry podcast on iTunes or Spotify. But you want to be super clear on the person behind the brand. Otherwise, it's going to be really hard to communicate who the person behind the brand is, which is kind of the art of personal branding in a nutshell. The second thing that you want to do is get super clear on who you're ultimately wanting to attract to your brand. So there are 2 sides to branding. There's you, right? The personal brand, the stories that you're ultimately going to share. But then we also have to understand who is the brand actually for, because it's not for you, right? You're the person behind the brand, the person building the connection, but who are you wanting to attract? So this is where understanding who your ideal customer is incredibly important. You need to not only get very specific on who your product and your service is ultimately for, but also get down to the nitty-gritty details around who they are. This is going to help you tremendously as you start to show up on social media, as you start to enhance your email marketing, maybe as you venture into blogging or creating video. Who are these pieces of content for? And this is going to make the entire process of showing up and marketing your business so much easier. But it's also going to play a role in the types of stories that you share online, the types of photos that you ultimately are creating, because you're doing it to attract an ideal customer. So you want to make sure that you take the time to identify who that person is. Here are 3 little things, little secrets that I want to share with you on ideal client work. Number 1, get super clear on specifically who this person is. This is where some of those demographic pieces come into play. Now, I'm not going to tell you that you can only work with women, or you can only work with men, or you can only work with, business owners. But start to think about those demographics that they identify with most, because that's really going to help you when you are writing copy and creating messaging and choosing those visual pieces for your brand. The second thing that you want to understand are, where are they at? What are their struggles? And what is standing in their way? So this is kind of like a 2-for-1, struggles and obstacles. So if someone has a problem, they can clearly tell you, this is my problem, right? This is what I'm currently experiencing my day to day. This is what I'm trying to move away from. But if they haven't moved away from that yet, what is standing in their way? That can be where you really get clear on the obstacles. And then finally, the last piece is, where do they ultimately want to go? If you solve their problem, if they have a solution, what will that allow them to do? Now, again, I want to be super clear. This plays a role whether you have a product or a service. And so getting really clear on these pieces and doing your ideal client research is incredibly helpful. I actually teach a little secret sauce to ideal client work in my free class, Build a Better Brand Method, which you can watch with the link below, or head to betterbrandmethod.com to sign up for free. The third thing that you want to pay attention to is your messaging. So let's just back it up a bit. We know who you are, right? You are the person behind the brand. You're the one that's ultimately showing up on these platforms, sharing your expertise, sharing your knowledge. We understand who you're ultimately speaking to, who you want to attract. That's your ideal customer. Now, how do we do this in a very consistent and fluid way? That is where messaging comes into play. Now, I teach a strategy called Core Brand Messages, which you can watch in this video right here, where I recommend that my clients get super clear on their brand messages for their brand as a whole, not about a specific product. In fact, I think a lot of entrepreneurs limit themselves because they brand a specific product or a service rather than focusing on the overall personal branding from the beginning. So this looks like, what are some of those obstacles that you address? What are some of those struggles that you fix? What are those desires for your ideal customer? And how do you, as the personal brand, do that? And this is where creating those messages right from the start can really help with consistency in showing up on social media, in the content that you're creating, on the different pages on your website. So you want to make sure that you're incredibly focused on consistency. We know that if someone, a consumer, has a break in consistency, they have a break in trust. So it's important that if you're showing up on Instagram and you're showing up on Pinterest and you have your website, that you are really consistent with your messaging, with the aesthetics, with all of those pieces on every single platform, because breaking trust is really not, don't do it, right? It's an incredibly bad thing to do as a business owner, because we know that people buy based on trust. Zig Ziglar once said, one of my favorite quotes, if someone likes you, they'll listen to you. If they trust you, they'll do business with you. So don't break that trust. All right, tip number 4 is my specialty, and it is called emotional branding. Sometimes when we're thinking about showing up online, we get super logistical. We're always thinking about, like, this is what I offer, and this is why it's helpful, and this and this and this and this. But we know that people make purchase decisions based on an emotional connection. And so emotional branding is incredibly powerful. And it's one of the things that I focus on inside of my course, You Branded, because we know that when you're super clear, you, the brand, right? The personal brand, when you're super clear on how you ultimately want your ideal customer to feel, then you can create the messaging and you can create the aesthetics and the visual components and the overall experience to make them feel that way. So I created a video for you right here. It's one of my most popular videos all about emotional branding. You can watch that video for all of the details on this piece, but make sure that you really focus on building a connection, because that is what personal branding truly is about. It's about sharing these stories and creating an experience for your audience so that they stay with the brand, so they stay, loyal to the brand for years to come. Tip number 5 is all about your ideal customer yet again. I know we think about personal branding as just like me, the person behind the brand, but I hope you've realized that that's a small portion of it. In order to improve your personal brand online, you want to get in front of the right people. So this step is all about making sure that you're consistently increasing brand awareness and attracting your ideal customer. So one of the best things that you can do when creating your business, when creating your personal brand, this is also going to play a huge role as you expand your brand down the line, maybe offering live events or a podcast or releasing a book, is that you want to build a community around your brand. And my favorite way to do this is through email marketing. So making sure that you are growing your email list so you have a way to stay in contact with your brand community members, so you have a way to share stories with them, to share educational content, to share knowledge, to share your products and your offers. Not only is having this online community really going to help with the evolution of your brand, but it's also going to help you make money. So as a business owner, it's important that if someone is intrigued by what you're saying, that they are interested in your products and your services, that you get them into your inner circle, that you capture their name and their email address so you can continue to nurture that relationship. And the last tip that I have for you is all about that connection piece. It's what we talked about in the very beginning. Personal branding really is about the experience. It's about building a connection with your audience. It's about sustainability and longevity. So my last tip for you is to take care of your customers. Take care of your clients. We put too much emphasis on getting people in the door, getting people on our email list. But I challenge you to put the same amount of emphasis, if not more, on taking care of the customers and clients once they're in the door. This is what is going to lead to your recurring clients, to your referrals, to your word of mouth, some of the most powerful pieces in building a strong personal brand online. I am really incredibly proud of my client retention rate because I make it a goal to make my clients a top priority. These are the people who have invested in your products and services. Show up for them, take care of them, and they can be the best advocates for your personal brand. So this looks like making sure you have a clear client onboarding system so they feel taken care of from the moment that they invest. It can look like making sure that you're checking in with them, that you have ways for them to provide feedback, and you're honoring that feedback as well. One of the things that we have done inside of my course, You Branded, is receive feedback from clients on why they purchased and feedback on, obstacles that they've run into as they've gone through the course, or if they would have liked something changed. And we take that feedback to heart and we improve the program for all. And at this point, it's not a guessing game anymore. People will ultimately tell you how you can care for them the best. And if you listen to that, I promise you that they will be the best advocates for your personal brand. So I hope that these 6 steps to improve your personal brand were really helpful for you. If you want to dive into personal branding and building a better brand, I invite you to watch my free class, The Build a Better Brand Method. You can check it out with the link below or go to betterbrandmethod.com to sign up for this on-demand class. You're going to learn my 6-part framework for building a better brand. I talk a little bit more about building those core brand messages, your ideal customer, and the power of story. You also will have a chance to join us inside of my course, You Branded, when you are ready to join us. This course will completely give you everything that you need to build a strong personal brand online. So make sure you check out betterbrandmethod.com. Like this video, give it a thumbs up, comment below. You know the drill over here on YouTube, and I'll see you next week in a new video.